Hello. Here are 5 things that have drastically improved my life in the last few months. Number 1, stop taking your phone to the bathroom. We've all seen those memes where people start reading the ingredients list on the back of products that are in the bathroom. But you know what? I've started putting a book in the bathroom, so instead of sitting there for 10 to 20 minutes, even when nothing serious is going on, I literally am out of there within a couple of minutes, and I might read a couple pages of a book. It is kind of funny that instead of sitting there for so long, I come out quite quickly and don't read that much of the book, but I think we're kicking goals here. We've read some book, we didn't go on our phone, we didn't doom scroll, and we saved time. I don't want to know how much of my life I've spent on the toilet. I'm going to put up a stat here. Future Astrid, when you're editing this, please Google how much time does the average person spend on the toilet. Okay, next. Number 2, use your reminders and calendar properly. I've found writing in my whole entire day's schedule with timings and everything really beneficial. You don't have to follow it to a T, but starting the day with some sort of plan in mind will help you stay more on track. And I personally use reminders in a way to break down big tasks. So let's pretend I have to write a 4,000 word essay. I will create as many reminders as possible to make it feel like I can tick things off. I'm going to create a document. That's one thing to tick off. My first reminder, 250 words, 500 words, 750 words, 1,000, all the way up to 4,000. And then obviously we've got bibliography, we've got rereading it, editing the whole thing, any other administrative things you need to do, like a cover sheet or whatever if it's an essay we're talking about. But you can apply this to any kind of task. Break it down into mini steps so you feel like you can actually tick things off, because it's actually not very satisfying if you just did 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. Well, that's not very fun. You don't really get to tick anything off. So break things down, use your reminders to your advantage, use them in a way where it feels like you are actually getting a lot done, and put in your daily tasks as just chunk your time, put 9 to 9:30, eat breakfast. Doesn't even matter if you don't follow it. It sets you up. It sets your brain up for the day, and you can think a little bit less about what you wanted to do. Chances are you would forget 1 or 2 things that you were planning on doing if you don't write them somewhere. Just write them somewhere. It's actually really helpful. Okay, next. Set time limits on apps and actually follow them. I used to have a TikTok addiction, and I would sit and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. And I know that is not unique. I'm not trying to say that I'm unique at all. I had to set a time limit on my app, but I would just press ignore. I would just, enter my passcode and just ignore it. Okay, of course, my camera died. We're back. You set the time limit. So you're basically trying to tell your future self, don't waste time on this app, or don't spend more than X amount of time on this app. And if you fully cannot follow the time limit, remove the app. I've gotten to a point where I don't actually go on it at all, but for months and months and months, I would just ignore the time limit. Yeah, it's easier said than done, but use time limits. It will at least add in a buffer, a little bit of inconvenience to kind of stop that scrolling or whatever it is that you want to do less of. Ultimately, you set that time limit. Clearly, you wanted to do that for a reason. It's one little thing that you can do to at least disrupt that kind of trance that we go into when we are stuck on an app or when we're stuck scrolling. All right, next. Use widgets. I've recently gotten into widgets. I had widgets on my iPad. I think you've been able to add them to your iPhone for ages, but I just personally haven't really taken advantage of that until recently. There are so many apps that you would already be using that you can actually add a widget to so that it takes up more space on your home screen. It's a good way to visually categorize and prioritize what you want to do. So for instance, I use the Nike Run app. If I don't use it for a while, I kind of forget that it exists. And then, if I fall out of a routine with going for runs or whatever, it's quite easy to just forget. But now I've got a widget and you can quick start a run. And I've found that really helpful. It's a visual reminder that that's something that I don't want to forget is there. You can add so many apps as widgets. This is not news. This is not news to anyone. It's just a little reminder that if you haven't gotten on the widget bandwagon, it's a good little way to remind yourself of things. Another widget that I find really useful is for the Stoic app. So I've got this long bar set up, and it kind of just basically reminds me to check in with that app every single day. day, even though it does remind you. It's kind of like, it's just there. It's just it's very in your face. There is a fly in here. Yeah, you can customize them. You can even create your own widgets. There's an app called Widgetsmith. You can customize all sorts of things. I also have a step counter so that I've got kind of a visual tracker of how many steps I've done that day. I've been making a really conscious effort to try and make sure I get enough steps each day, just because I feel that last year I wasn't paying enough attention to that. And of course, you know, on Apple Watches, you've always had that kind of visual ring tracker, and if you figure out what apps work for you, hopefully they have a widget. I use the calendar as like a bigger thing so I can see my daily tasks or my daily schedule kind of just at a glance. I've got weather, whatever works for you, set them up. The last tip that I have, this is maybe more of a tip to myself. Write out your tasks, like your to-do lists or whatever that may be, in a non-chaotic way. I just used a notebook to write out my to-do lists. I would have all different types of sorts of tasks. I would write them all on one piece of paper, but in this really like weird, messy way where I then couldn't find things. It's not something that's super hard to fix. I bought this daily planner, which I found to be really helpful. It was from Kmart. It was $3. Basically, I can set out my day with the time and description of things I want to do, and then it just has another section on the side where it's got like to-do, goals, email/call, like you can just change the categories if you want, but just having them kind of sectioned off I just find really helpful. And then aside from that, because I used to have a monthly planner and that didn't really work for me, there was just too many things, and I like to write quite specific tasks, so I now have a weekly planner as well, so I can I can look at my week as a whole, and then I can look at my day on a day where I'm like doing more things than usual. I don't use the daily plan every single day, because for instance, if I'm working, then a big chunk of my day is just working. So there'll only be like something in the morning and something in the evening. So I probably won't use the daily planner. I'm talking so quickly. But the weekly plan is really helpful because you can kind of shift things. You know, if you didn't get it done on Monday, shift it to another day, whatever that is. It's just a really nice visual way to plan. Anyways, I hope you found something in this video useful. Feel free to like this video, comment any tips you have down below, and subscribe if you want to see more. And that's all for today. I'm gonna go now. Bye.